I love moomins. I first discovered them in March of 2020 when this video randomly popped up in my recommended, and ever since I've been absolutely obsessed with them. I'm really glad I discovered them at the beginning of quarantine because the simple slice of life stories brought me so much joy at a time when I really, really needed it. So, I'm assuming since you clicked on this video you probably already know what the moomins are, but just in case you don't, I'll give you a quick breakdown. The moomins originally come from a book series by Tove Jansson, written from the 40s through the 70s. The story centers around Moomin Troll, also called Moomin, who is a species of creature called moomins, who are hippopotamus-like creatures with white fur and long tails. Moomin and his family and friends live in a valley called Moomin Valley. The Moomin books have been adapted for TV several times. There's a 90s version, a 2019 version whose cast is absolutely stacked for no reason, a stop-motion version, a version where everyone has a gun. The most popular are the 90s anime Adventures in Moomin Valley and the 2019 cartoon Moomin Valley. So today I'm going to be looking at both and deciding once and for all which is the better adaptation. And to do this, I am going to be taking a look at 3 different storylines from the books that both series have adapted and deciding who handled them better. Also, I'm going to be working on this drawing of the Moomin house while I do it, so tune into the end of the video to see the finished product. Number 1. The Last Dragon. So let me give you a brief bit of context before we start for those of you who aren't super in the know. So Moomin has a best friend, you can't see me but I'm making air quotes with my hands, he has a best friend named Snufkin, and every winter Snufkin leaves the valley to go out on his own and he has his own adventures, and it's always very sad and Moomin always misses him a whole lot. So, now that we have that out of the way, let me explain the plotline of the Last Dragon storyline. So Moomin, at the beginning of spring, discovers a dragon, which he presumes to be the last dragon in the world. And he's super excited to show Snufkin, he keeps it in a jar, and he waits for Snufkin to come back. But when Snufkin arrives, Moomin discovers that the dragon likes Snufkin a whole lot more than he likes him, which causes him to become very jealous. Ultimately, Snufkin sets the dragon free because he's the only one who understands what the dragon truly wants, and the storyline is pretty much resolved. So, the story is told pretty much the same in both the 90s anime and the 2019 cartoon. The main difference is the characterization of Moomin Troll. In the 90s anime, Moomin Troll is very much a child. He's very young, very naive, and he idolizes Snufkin. In the 90s version, at the beginning of the episode, Snufkin tells Moomin that he's going to be heading south soon, even though spring has just started. And throughout the episode, Moomin's relationship with the dragon is meant to be reflective of his relationship with Snufkin. Moomin wants to exercise control over the dragon. He smothers it with love and attention, and he's constantly worried for its safety, even though the dragon is perfectly capable of managing on its own. He's projecting his insecurities and his worries about Snufkin leaving onto his relationship with this dragon. Whereas in the 2019 cartoon, Moomin's kind of just jealous of Snufkin. In the 2019 adaptation, he's a lot more of an angsty teenager than a naive child, and ultimately in the 2019 cartoon, while the episode is still enjoyable, the relationship between Moomin and Snufkin isn't as fleshed out, and the conflict concerning the dragon is very surface level as a result. However, don't get me wrong, I absolutely love the 2019's version of this episode because of the music. So, I've already mentioned in my top 10 favorite albums video that the Moomin Valley Season 1 soundtrack is absolutely amazing, especially in this episode. There's a scene when Moomin and Snufkin take the dragon for a walk, and as they do so, there's a song that plays in the background called Love Me With All Your Heart, and it is beautiful. Go listen to it as soon as you're done watching this video. The most interesting thing about this song is by far the lyrics. The lyrics go like this: love me with all your heart, that's all I want. Love me with all your heart or not at all. And just promise me this, that you'll give me all your kisses every winter, every summer, every fall. The song is clearly romantic, but in the context of the scene, it's left unclear whether Moomin is asking for the dragon to love him or if he's asking for Snufkin to love him. That's something interesting I've noticed about the music in Moomin Valley. If Moomin is sharing a scene with Snork Maiden, who, keep in mind, is supposed to be his girlfriend, the lyrics of the song will be something like, "Oh, I'm so glad you're my friend. Our friendship is just so lovely. We're buddies. We're chums. We're pals." Whereas if Moomin's in a scene with Snufkin, the lyrics in the background will be like, "I have loved you since the moment I first laid eyes on you. You are the first person I think of when I wake up and the last person I think of when I go to sleep. I want to run away with you and make sweet, sweet love." Anyways, It's not that the music in the 90s adaptation is bad, there's this one little tune that I absolutely love.
Hold on tight, all of you. Now.
But the music does lend a lot to Moomin Valley. But this isn't about the music, this is about The Last Dragon, and ultimately, I do think the 90s adaptation tells the story better. Number 2, The Invisible Child.
I'm the invisible child. No.
So let me give you a quick summary. The Moomin family comes across a child named Ninny who is completely invisible, and eventually we learn that the reason Ninny is invisible is because she was neglected and frightened so often by her previous caretaker that she physically disappeared. The Moomins take her in because they're kind, loving folk, and over time, their love and affection turns Ninny visible again. It's a very heartwarming story, and I think it's especially important for kids to learn. So either way, it's a win-win situation. However, in the 1990s cartoon, this storyline is covered in 2 episodes, and as a result, it kind of feels like it drags on a little bit. Not only does the 2019 version tell the story in a more concise way, it also emphasizes to the viewer that Ninny's visibility is caused by listening to her, which I think is very important. While both are good, I do have to give the crown to the 2019 adaptation on this one. Number 3, The Hobgoblin's Hat. So this one is kind of hard to explain because the story is split into 3 different parts. I like to call these parts the Vines, the Ruby, and the King of California. In the Vines part, Moomin and friends find a strange hat that has the ability to transform objects into different objects. And a series of mishaps occur. It differs depending on which series you're watching. And the Moomin house ends up covered in vines, and no, they have to get rid of them. The second part is the Ruby, where 2 strangers named Thingamy and Bob roll into town with a suitcase with a ruby inside. The Hobgoblin chases after them because it's his ruby and he wants it. The Moomins eventually exchange the Hobgoblin's hat for the ruby. The third storyline, the King of California, is by far the most interesting in my opinion, and it's the one that we're going to be focusing on for this segment of the video. Moomin himself hides in the hat during a game of hide and seek, and he transforms into a completely different creature, which is called the King of California. And spoiler alert, the story is told well in the 2019 version, but the 1990 version absolutely knocks it out of the park with the scene of Moomin having been transformed. For clarification, both storylines involve Moomin transforming and then everybody being unable to recognize him and him eventually being transformed back by the love of his mother. However, the anime takes it way more seriously. It's treated as a terrifying thing. There's a sad organ playing as though we're at a funeral.
Have you looked at yourself in a mirror? But where's my nose gone? Oh, there's nothing there anymore.
Moomin is completely out of his mind. He's crying and begging for his mother to recognize him.
You don't look like my Moomin.
I am. Please believe me, Mama. I am Moomin.
And, well, let me explain. Almost nothing in Moomin Valley is as it seems on the surface. Pretty much everything Tova wrote is a metaphor for something else. And I haven't confirmed this, but I have heard that this scene is a metaphor for when LGBT plus children come out to their parents and their parents no longer recognize them as the same child. And so when you go and watch this scene and you watch Moomin crying and begging for his mother to recognize him, you're like, wait, why am I crying right now? So yeah, the 1990 version is a lot better. Number 4, Snufkin. Okay, I know this isn't technically a storyline, but I just need a minute to talk about how much I love Snufkin. Snufkin is my second favorite fictional character of all time. The first is Murdoch Nichols, don't judge me. However, Snufkin is very different in both adaptations. In the 1990 version, you get the sense that he's quite a bit older than Moomin and the rest of his friends. Moomin and Snorkmaiden are portrayed as children, whereas Snufkin is the older kid that helps them out whenever they get into trouble. But in the 2019 version, Snufkin is softer almost, and it seems like, whereas the rest of the cast has been aged up, Snufkin has been aged down. Instead of being an independent loner, he's really more of an awkward, socially anxious boy. And don't get me wrong, I love 90s Snufkin. He's like a feral vagabond, and his voice actor John Chancellor does an absolutely fantastic job.
What did you do?
I'll tell you later.
What are you going to put inside them, Moomin Mama?
What do you think? Us, of course, Snufkin.
Us! Goodness!
Yes, but there's never any crime in Moomin Valley.
Unless we commit some, I guess.
What?
Let's go and fill Moomin Valley with crime.
But there's something about 2019 Snufkin that I just love. See, Moomin and Snufkin's relationship has always been beautifully complex. Tova managed to delicately and expertly explore gay relationships in a children's series before homosexuality was even legal. And whether you're into Moomin and Snufkin as a couple or you don't like it, you can agree that their relationship is beautiful. And Moomin Valley 2019 fleshes this out excellently. And Snufkin is a character too. They give him a musical theme that I absolutely love. And they dedicate an episode to him called The Spring Tune. And here we see that just as Moomin Troll aches and longs and pines for Snufkin when he's gone, Snufkin does the exact same thing. I think 2019 Snufkin can be summed up best in this one scene from The Spring Tune, my favorite episode of the show, by the way. Snufkin is running back to Moomin House to see his friend Moomin Troll again when he drops his harmonica. And when he drops it, an owl snatches it and flies away with it. Now, Snufkin doesn't have very many possessions, and his harmonica is the thing he treasures most in the entire world. And Snufkin keeps running to Moomin House. He doesn't stop to find his harmonica because seeing his friend again is that important to him. And I think that's wonderful. I don't know if this counts as a category, but if it does, yeah, it does. I've just decided that it does. The 2019 version definitely wins. And now, let's tally up the score and see which adaptation wins. And it's a tie! Turns out I love Moomins in any way, shape, or form that they arrive to me in. Almost everything in Moomin Valley is far more meaningful than it appears, like I said. From Moomin and Snufkin, to male Hemulans in dresses, to Thingamy and Bob's Ruby representing the love the two women share, everyone is accepted and welcome in Moomin Valley, which is why it appeals to so many, and why I will always love it dearly. And here's the finished piece I was working on. You can also go see it on my Instagram and my Tumblr, both of which are linked in the description below. Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you liked me, be sure to subscribe to my channel. If you want, you can even turn notifications on so you'll be the first to know when I'm staring longingly into my best friend's eyes while a super romantic song plays. But, like, not in a gay way or anything. Anyways, that's all from me. I gotta go fill Moomin Valley with crime. Bye!